Hello my dear friends, hope all of you are doing well by keeping yourself safe in this difficult period of time. Please try to maintain all the COVID protocol seriously. So far we have considered that the charges are either free or bound, but they were at rest. But when the charges are in motion, they can constitute the electric current. So today I will discuss one new chapter and it's related to the current electricity. So let's start. So the current electricity is our new topic today. Suppose we may consider one situation where some positive and negative charges are flowing in some specific direction. The net amount of charge that flows in the direction, so the net amount of charge that flows in some time interval of t in some specific direction, that is q is equal to q plus is the amount of positive charge minus the amount of negative charge. For the steady state we can write that the current is q over t. The current may not be always steady. If delta q be the net charge flowing during the time interval of delta t, then in the limiting case we can write, in the limiting case I is a function of t, limit delta t tends to 0 delta q over delta t, and the SI unit of the current is the ampere. Now we can understand that the electric charge will experience a force if the electric field is applied. In atoms and molecules, the negatively charged electron and the nucleus are tightly bound, so the electrons are not free to move. In the bulk matter also, the molecules are tightly packed and electrons are not for the individual nuclei and they are unable to move. But in conductors, there are so-called the free electrons that are free to move within the bulk material when an electric field is applied. In solid conductors, only the negatively charged electrons carry the current. When there is no electric field, the electron moves due to their thermal motion and collide with each other, which is completely random in nature. So, without the presence of the electric field, the electron moves due to their thermal motion, and the movement is purely random in nature. But in the presence of the electric field, we can write that the movement of electron and it constitutes the electric current. So now if we apply the electric field, you can see I have written here, as we have discussed before, that the electron will move in the opposite direction of the electric field as long as they are moving. So the electron movement of the electron constitutes the electron current in the presence of the electric field. Now we will consider one basic law regarding the flow of the currents given by G.S. Ohm in the year of 1828. So it is called the Ohm's law regarding the flow of the current. So what it states, suppose a current I is flowing through a conductor and V be the potential difference of its two ends, then the Ohm's law states that V is proportional to the I, where V is the potential difference between the two ends of the conductor and I is the magnitude of the current. So we can write it as V is equal to Ri, where R is the proportionality constant, it is called the resistance, and it is written like here, like omega, and its SI unit is ohm. So now we will see that the resistance is a material property and it depends on the dimension of the material also. So you can see there is, I have drawn one bar here of the cross sectional area A, capital A, and the length of small l. Now the resistance is more if the length of the conductor increases. So we can write R is proportional to L, where the cross sectional area is fixed. Again, the resistance is inversely proportional to the cross sectional area of the conductor. So R is proportional to 1 by A, where the length does not vary. So by combining together we can write R is equal to rho times L by A, where rho is called the resistivity of the material. So by putting the value of R in the Ohm's equation, what we are getting, that V is equal to IR, it means I times rho L by A. So now we can define that again, that the current density I by A is equal to J. So this is the current density I by A is equal to J. This is called the current density. Current per unit area is called the current density, where the area is taken perpendicular to the flow of the current. Now we have from the Ohm's law, V is equal to IR, and if I put the value of the capital R, which is the resistance, it means rho times L by A. Now this I by A, I write it like J, capital J, that is the current density I just defined now. So it becomes V is equal to J rho L. Now the V by L is the electric field. So it becomes the V by L is equal to electric field is equal to the J rho. So in the vector form we can write that E is equal to rho times J. So here you can see E is equal to rho times J. Now if I just invert this, J is equal to 1 by rho times E. So it means the sigma E. So here rho is called the resistivity of the material and 1 by rho is called the electrical conductivity of the material. So you can see this is the main two equation. E is equal to rho J and J is equal to sigma E. So now we will try to understand how the movement of the electrons under the electric field give rise to Ohm's law. So the origin of the Ohm's law by drifting of the electrons. As we have discussed earlier that the electron will suffer random collisions and emerges with some speed. By considering all the electrons, their average velocity will be 0. So the average velocity of all the electrons, what it will be? 1 by n, capital N, where is n is the total number of electrons. Sum over I is equal to 1 to n's Vi vector is equal to 0, where the small Vi vector is equal to velocity of the ith electron at any time. In presence of the electric field, the electron will be accelerated. So what will be its acceleration? As we all know that acceleration is equal to force per unit mass. So the force on the electron, what it will be? Minus E times E. This is the electron charge, this is the electric field, divided by m. Now suppose we consider that the ith electron, we consider the movement of the ith electron at time t, at some specific time, and it may have its last collision some time before t. We assume that after the last collision, that the Ti is the time that has been elapsed. So the Ti is the time that has been elapsed for the ith electron to have its last collision, and the small Vi vector is the velocity immediately after the last collision, and capital Vi vector is the velocity at the time t. So we can write that the velocity at the time t is equal to the velocity immediately after the last collision, that is the small Vi vector, plus the acceleration times the time that has been elapsed. So what it will be? Capital Vi vector is equal to small Vi vector minus of E by m times the time that has been elapsed after the last collision. So this is the main idea. Now if we take the average of all such capital Vi's, that it means if I take the average of the both side, so this small Vi average is a 0, because the just after the collision the direction of the electron velocity is completely random. So if I take the average in the both side and we defining that Vd is equal to capital Vi average. So capital Vi average is equal to small Vi average minus E by m Ti average. So this part is vanishes. So Vi average, small Vi average is 0 minus E by m. This Ti average I write it like tau, where tau is the average time between the successive collision. So at a given time some of the electron would have spent more than tau and some less than tau. So this is the phenomenon of the drift, and this Vd is called the drift velocity. So we have the expression for the drift velocity, that the Vd is equal to minus of E by m times tau, where tau is called the collision time. So now due to the drift there will be some net transport of the charges across the area perpendicular to the electric field. Now we consider one imaginary cylinder which has the flat area of capital A perpendicular to the direction of the electric field. So you can see here this is our imaginary cylinder of length of, because I choose that I am considering the time interval of delta t. So during the time interval of delta t the charge carriers move a distance of Vd delta t. So this is our cylinder length and the cross sectional area is capital A. So within a small time of delta t, as I have already mentioned, that the charge carriers move a length of Vd delta t within a time interval of delta t, and this is our cylinder length. So within a small time of delta t, the amount of charge carrier, I mean the electron inside the cylinder, what it will be? So within a small time of delta t, the amount of charge carrier inside the cylinder will be A Vd delta t is the volume of the cylinder and n is the charge per unit volume. So the total number of charge carrier, what it will be? A Vd delta t times n. So what will be the total charge inside? the charge enclosed, it means the delta Q is equal to, I need to multiply it with the electron charge, so it becomes delta Q is equal to minus of NE capital A Vd delta T. Now if I put the value of the Vd, that is the drift velocity, you have the expression from here, Vd is equal to minus E times the electric field divided by M times tau. So if I put the value of the Vd here, A minus of NEA minus of EE by M tau times delta T. So it comes out like delta Q is equal to N square tau by M capital A electric field times delta T. So we know that the I is equal to current is equal to delta Q over delta T, that's the charge per unit time. So it becomes N square tau by M A delta E. Now we can express that the current per unit perpendicular area, it means the current density I have already defined. So it becomes I by A times is equal to J. This is also a vector quantity, the current density. So J vector is equal to I by A is equal to N square tau by M times the electric field. Now we have already defined that the J is equal to sigma E, where sigma is the electrical conductivity. So by comparing these two equations, we get that sigma is equal to N square tau by M. So because the sigma is called the electrical conductivity, so the electrical conductivity depends on the collision time and also the mass of the charge carriers inversely. So we can see that a very simple picture of the conduction of the electrons produces the Ohm's law. So my friends, I am concluding my discussion here. Please do like, share and subscribe Invisible Threads. Make your valuable comments in this video's comment section. See you all in the next video. Till then, thank you.